Hi everyone. So I'm out for a walk, which I do every day. It's like super cold and snowing. But I wanted to come on because there's been a lot of, I should probably slow down and get off the road here. There's been a lot of people in crisis this week, and I've had people contact me through Instagram, through like friends and family contacting me, and they are in crisis and feeling like they don't know what to do, things are changing, something's happened, crisis, right? And I want to go into the why of that, because I think it's super important to understand what's going on in, the ethers in the astrology, right? That's what I do. I'm an astrologer. Hi, for those of you that don't know, my name is Shanna Cross and I am a practicing astrologer. So I'm going to stop right here because this is like super cold out here and windy. I'll probably turn my back to the wind so you guys can hear me. But I'll tell you why. The astrology for the cardinal signs, and this is a lot of cardinal energy that's going on right now. So if you have cardinal placements and you're experiencing a crisis, this is why. The nodes, the north and the south node, are in Libra and Aries. Pluto is at 29 degrees of Capricorn, and the Sun and Mars are in Capricorn right now as well. And anyone that has any placement in the cardinal signs, no matter if it's beginning or ending degrees, kind of face a little bit of a mini crisis this week. And I don't want to say it's not going to get better, but it's going to be released, and something else is going to come in that might be a little bit better for you, because we do have a new moon coming up next week in Capricorn, but we have to release something first. And the crisis this week that came up for a lot of people, the reasoning behind it is because we had a final quarter square. And this final quarter square, for those of you that don't follow the solar lunar cycle, the final quarter square is a time of release, it's a time of crisis, right? So squares in general in astrology are crisis driven. And this final quarter square happened to be in Libra, which is where the south node is transiting, and Capricorn, right? Because that's where the sun is. The sun's highlighting structures and structured things in our lives, hierarchical things, maybe even some fear, right? But Libra has a lot to do with relationships. And the final quarter square between Libra and Capricorn, I noticed, had an impact on people and different types of relationships that they have in their life, because as a sign, that's what Libra represents. Where Libra falls in your charts depends on how it's going to show up for you. And it was quite interesting, the stories that I was told. And of course, me being me, I look up the charts and I'm like, oh yeah, that makes a lot of sense. But the other thing that happened is that Mars moved into Capricorn. And Mars is exalted in Capricorn, and it can do a lot of things in Capricorn. It can pretty much have free reign and do what it wants. It was in sextile with Saturn, so that even helped to support Mars even more than being in the sign of its exaltation. And it can do a lot more than what it normally would as well. And for those of you that have heavy cardinal placements, and this doesn't matter if you're a beginning degree placements, middle degree, end degree, because all of these things happened at the beginning, middle, and end degrees, because Pluto is also at 29 degrees. There's a big cycle that's being released with that, in terms of power, control, restructuring, and things like that in this Capricorn area. So all that being said, there was a lot of crisis going on this week for people that had placements across the board, 0 to 29 degrees of all the cardinal signs. I'm sorry, my hands are like freezing. I didn't wear gloves. And there is a decision point that's coming up because next week, after all the stuff went down this week, next week we have the sun squaring the nodes exact. And so this means that there's a choice. And I don't know, astrologers don't really, I haven't seen too many astrologers really talk about this because we are halfway between eclipses, right? And so that's, to me, what I've witnessed with that in my practice, in people's lives, in my life, is that when you're halfway between eclipses, that's when manifestations take place. That's when kind of the magic starts to take hold. And choices need to be made. Depending on if you're moving from the south node, the sun especially, because the sun is part of the eclipses, the moon as well. And so with the sun moving away from the south node and towards the north node, this is a time when we can be deciding, okay, where do we trim the fat? Where do we walk away from things that no longer serve us, that are not in alignment and not balanced? Where do we need to rebalance, right? Because that south node is in Libra, and Libra wants balance. And where do we need to be courageous, right? With that north node, where do we need to take action, right? Because that's what Aries requires. Aries is not a sign that's fearless. It is afraid. It does get afraid, but it does it anyway, right? Because its ruling planet is Mars, and Mars requires action. And so, yeah, we need to start taking action on what it is that we want to bring into our lives. We need to take action on what we want to release out of our lives and where we need to rebalance, right? Where have we gone out of balance? And that final quarter square moon this week really highlighted that. I know for me, I'll give you a personal example. I happen to have an inspection for my vehicle, and Libra happens to be my third house. And I own the car with my husband. We have both of our names on it. And that final quarter square, they refused to inspect my vehicle. They said that they could inspect it, but it would fail, and I would not be able to drive it. So that I had to order a bunch of parts and get it fixed before they could inspect it. And that was quite expensive. Quite expensive. So yeah, that happened for me on that final quarter square. And I'm like, okay, thinking now, like, yeah, it's getting expensive to own this car. I've had this car since 2012. Do I really want to keep putting money into it, or do I want to see if I can find a newer vehicle, because I will not buy brand new ever again, and, upgrade? Because I've been wanting an SUV. I've been wanting to upgrade to an SUV for a while now, just because my husband and I do have a farm. We have animals, we have children, and I can fill that car up real quick and not have enough room. So that is that. And so, yeah, I hope you enjoyed this. Let me know. This is getting a little long. So, yeah, I hope I didn't ramble too much and you got something out of this, knowing that your experience and the crisis that you're going through this week, or that you've gone through this week, will get better. But that there needs to be choices to change, right? Choices to let go and choices to move forward, and things that you want to accomplish and move towards. Because after the sun and this new moon square the nodes in trine with Uranus, by the way, and so what that means is that we are supported in whatever changes we want to make, but we have to kind of think outside the box of how we want to go about doing it. Mars will come in and square the nodes. So that's also going to happen. And so there needs to be a cutting, right? Mars is a cutting influence. So there needs to be a cutting away of energy. And how about that Pluto-Sun conjunction at 29 Capricorn? That's going to be fun and interesting to watch. And then the full moon in Leo, where the moon is opposing Pluto in Aquarius. That'll be fun. So And I say this sarcastically. I don't want to spread fear or fearmonger or anything like that. It's interesting. I find everything interesting. I'm always very curious as to how things are going to happen and show up. And we can make an educated guess and look at the signs, look at the symbols, look at the placements and all of that, and the aspects that are being made of how things are going to work. But collectively, because I'm not a mundane astrologer, I do natal readings, how it's going to actually show up for the world. I find that quite interesting. So, okay. My fingers are freezing, and I'm sure you've listened to me ramble on long enough. So I hope you all have a good rest of your weekend, and I'll catch you later. Let me know in the comments if you want to see more content like this, or me being a crazy person, because I always feel weird having a camera in my face. I am a little bit shy, a little bit more reserved, a little bit more behind the scenes. I'm an introvert after all. So yeah, let me know. Thanks everyone. Have a good day.